Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video of Mr. Mark Explains History, and today we are going to talk again about the Cold War, continue our story of the Cold War and talk about some early tensions. So before the Cold War happened, there was already some tension between the two superpowers, so between the US and the USSR. And we talk about the Cold War from, let's say, 1945, some people say 1948, till 1989. But both superpowers already had, let's say, not the best relationship before that, and there's a couple of reasons why there was already tension between the two. So in this video we're going to talk about 6 reasons why there was already tension between the US and the West and the USSR before World War II and after World War I. So in the last video we talked about the Russian Revolution, and Lenin promised peace, bread and land to the Russian people, and Russia became a communist country. This is very important for a couple of reasons. Reason 1 is that Russia is now a communist country, the Soviet Union is born, and this already creates a lot of tension because for the first time ever you have a communist country in the world. And part of the ideology of communism is that you want to spread it to as many countries as possible, and that they proclaim that capitalism is bad, etc. It's really against the system of the Western countries. So this by itself is already a cause for a lot of tension. The fact that you have those two opposing ideologies, and that part of communist ideology is that you want to spread it, right? You want to make other countries also communist. So this by itself already creates a lot of tension. The second reason is that one of Lenin's promises was peace, to deliver peace, and he succeeded in that, although Russia had to give up a lot of land. So you can see here, this is the line of the treaty, or the treaty line of Brest-Litovsk. So Russia and Germany signed the peace treaty. Kind of Russia accepted defeat, and they gave up all of this land to Germany. And Russia was allies with France and the UK, so they kind of betrayed them by signing a peace before them and kind of leaving them to fight on their own. So now all the German troops could go to the Western Front, and Russia was not fighting there anymore. So this already broke, let's say, a lot of trust between those countries, and was already a very bad start for the West in their relationship with the Soviet Union. That you cannot really rely on them, they just peace out of a war very, let's say, before the others want to. So the fact that they signed this separate peace with Germany, that didn't really start things off well between the West and the Soviet Union, and the fact, in what I said in one, that they are now a communist country. So the West wanted to do something about that, and they didn't really like that Russia became now a communist country, and they mingled in the Russian Civil War that followed the Russian Revolution. So it was the Reds, the communists, versus the Whites, pretty much everyone else. And the West sent troops to intervene in this conflict. Here you can see a picture of American troops in Vladivostok in the far east of Russia. And here we can see a cartoon, a communist cartoon, kind of depicting the whites as kind of the dogs of the West, so that they were like puppets of the West. So the West really wanted the whites to win. To really call them puppets is a bit too much in my opinion. But yeah, they were supported, the whites were supported by the West. They really wanted Russia to become a capitalist country again, kind of with maybe a monarchy again, at least not a communist country, what it was. And this didn't work out. You can see it ends in 22, and the communists won, the Reds won, and Russia was now really a communist country, adding a bit more tension to that relationship. What also added tension is that because Russia is now communist and they wanted to spread this communist, there was really in the US, but also in other Western countries, a fear of communism. And this period we call the Red Scare, or the first Red Scare, because after World War II in the 50s there is another Red Scare. And there were loads of those cartoons, let's say, about if communists take over America, it will be very dramatic. And the problem is also that a lot of people were labeled as communists. So if you are a trade union and you represent workers and you organize a strike, then the government was really afraid that this might lead to like a bigger uprising of workers, like in communism. So there was really a big paranoia about that. And this also added tension because the communist country, so Russia, wants to help those workers spread communism. And there were some real agents trying to start a communist revolution. So this also adds more tension, increases the tension between the West and the East. Then number 5 is Stalin's regime. So Lenin died. There was kind of a struggle who would succeed him. In the end, Stalin came out on top and he became the leader of the Soviet Union. But Stalin's regime, well, it was very violent. It was very Stalin acted as a dictator. He didn't care so much about ideals. He cared more about staying in power and doing everything he could to stay in power. So also getting rid of his close allies who he didn't trust anymore. This is a great kind of one of the first photoshopped photos, you could say. First, there's 4 people with Stalin in the photo. In the end, it's him alone because he purged the other 3, or they were sent to a gulag, or they were killed because he was too paranoid. There was also a period called the Great Terror where Stalin got rid of a lot of, let's say, bad elements in his eyes. Maybe they were really against him, maybe they were really against communism, but it was mostly that he just wanted to get rid of them because he didn't trust him, or he was very paranoid about this. Also, the Holodomor in Ukraine is a man-made famine by Stalin, who shipped all the bread back to Soviet Union and left Ukrainian citizens to starve. This is one example, let's say 2 examples of how bad Stalin's regime was and how he oppressed people and how he's responsible for the deaths of many millions of people. So this also added tension, like you don't want to work as the West with such a dictator. As Western democracies, UK, France, the US, you don't trust such dictators, so this added more tension. And then the final one is that this dictator, Stalin, also made a deal with another dictator, with Hitler. And this treaty is called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. So the Nazis and the Soviets said, we are not gonna attack each other. And they kind of divided all the land between them. So Poland was split in half according to this plan. Finland was in the Russian sphere of influence. Also Estonia, Latvia. So they really divided up the lands between them and promised to not attack each other. So the fact that Nazis and the Soviets made this pact also created more mistrust between the West and the East, between the US and the Soviet Union, and already caused a lot of tension. And also the fact that in 1939 Stalin also invaded Poland and committed many atrocities there. So he was the same kind of aggressor as Hitler was. Although in the end he's seen as a liberator, but at the start in 1939 to 1941 he is also an aggressor. This is very important to remember. So all of those reasons created a lot of mistrust and already caused a lot of tension between the East and West. In the next video, though, we'll see a big change because the US, the UK and Stalin, the USSR, they are forming an alliance to fight against the Nazis together. So why this alliance kind of started and what it was all about and when they met for the first time, we're all going to talk about in the next video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.